Good day and welcome to today's Refcomm webinar. My name is Ronald Lee. I'm Vice President of Operations for Vuvio Technologies, and we're proud to be today's sponsor. And we're also proud to have one of our customers, special guest, Gabe Young from BASF. Our panelist for today's session, Gabe Young, he's a Learning and Development Coordinator with BASF, and he's got 20 years of experience in learning and development competency, as well as serving in other operational leadership positions. Fran Montemur and myself have over 70 combined years of manufacturing experience with the same company, and we've been in senior leadership jobs with the DuPont in the past. And Christian McDermott, our North America manager, 13 years of consulting and being in the Vuvio family, and he's our experts on the various tools. Great historian. Today's webinar, we're going to talk and touch on some of the challenges that the COVID-19 virus has caused the industry. As you all know, coming into 2020, a digital initiative or transformation was probably something nice to do. However, with the COVID virus, we have all...
It's off of mute. It says mute.
Someone is not muted. Okay, I'll continue on. With the COVID virus, of course, we all must now are challenged to start to operationalize these type of digital initiatives in order to remain competitive and sustain good manufacturing arrangements. So BASF will share several of their use cases with us today pertaining to how Vuvio has helped them improve their operational discipline, reduce unplanned events with the organization. They will also share why they adopted Vuvio and what some of the outcomes have been. This is a chart that's an industry, it represents industry data. And the chart kind of shows where that there's a lot of hidden plants and capacity in some of our facilities. And if you start to look at the OEE type of data showing downtime losses, you'll see that we allocate a lot of money, funds, and capital projects toward robusting equipment. But when you get right down to it and you start doing root cause failure analysis on equipment, you'll see that most of the failures or the downtime is really due to poor operating practices, failed to follow procedures, or inadequate competencies. And of course, a significant amount of variability from shift to shift. So really a key focus point should be on that 23% that's caused by sometime human error. And it's not intentional or blatant. It's just cases where people just don't know and haven't been given access to the skills and knowledge. I will now turn the stage over to Christian McDermott, who will share with you our solution.
Thank you. Thank you, Ron. So what I'm going to show you now is, hopefully everyone can see my screen. This will provide some context for the rest of the webinar and also drive the discussion later in the Q&A. So what you're looking at right now is one of the things I want to show you. I'm going to show you three things today that our customers, including BASF, and you'll hear from Gabe, use to solve some of these challenges that Ron mentioned. The first one is the digital replica. That's what you're looking at right now. The second would be procedure simulators, where you can practice and learn procedures. And the final thing is the field execution tool for assistance in the field while executing procedures. So let me start off with this. I'm using my laptop here, sitting remotely. So I'm going to take my mouse and start walking through the digital replica. And this is a utilities complex. So, and what's unique about this digital replica is it's built using real photographs. And it creates this immersive, realistic environment. So hopefully it's kind of smooth as we're transitioning through the images. It is on my computer, but it is something you can share virtually on Teams or Zoom like we are right now. You basically have the freedom to move around the unit or the process area. You can turn around, you can look around, so it's your plant on the screen. And you'll notice now there are some green boxes. So here you're able to tag pieces of equipment, whether it's vessels or pumps, or components like these valves, control panels, things like that. There are labels or IDs that appear. And if you select one of these, you get a detailed view of that component. And here, this is where I want to bring in the simulation. So I can actually grab this valve with my mouse or my finger and rotate it. Of course, wheel valves you would rotate. Other types of valves or instruments also behave as they would in real life. So this lever valve I can open. So there's a lot of capability in terms of being able to replicate the real functionality of equipment. So you'll see as I'm walking around, there's other pieces of equipment tagged and labeled. And all of these, by the way, are listed in a searchable index. So operators or maintenance technicians can select things in the index, or you can search for things. So if I type in 99 here in the search box, I can select one of these valves, and it will take me straight to that location. So operators and maintenance technicians or anyone can find things independently without having to rely on others. And again, this is available 24/7. So you'll see how this can be used for planning, planning day-to-day activities, onboarding, lockout, tagouts, line breaks, or confined space strategies, with all of this available on your laptop or tablet. One other thing I want to show you is what we call enhanced views. Now, these can be embedded all around the replica. Gabe, who you'll hear from later, has several of these. So we can take an image and overlay the flows just by which I can activate by these icons at the bottom here. So I can select, for example, condensate in the blue. I can switch it on and off. And there you have an unambiguous view of that system. Taking that a step further, that interactivity and those flows, if you have a complex manifold like we do here, I can activate the flows and the valves. You'll see here, I've activated the valves and the labels as well, which you can organize in different ways. But notice when I take my mouse here in the bottom right, and I'm gonna click on this valve, you'll see that the flow now corresponds to the position of that valve. So again, it's an unambiguous representation of the real plant, which has huge onboarding and refresher value. So this is all in the digital replica. So the second part of this was procedure simulators. So this is what I'm going to show you next. And I'm going to show you two things here. One is called the guided module, which you're looking at right now. And the other one is a test module. But on the screen, let me just explain what you see. So you have the replica here on the right. You have your map or plot plan at the bottom, so you always know where you are. Your procedure is on the left. So this would be BASF's procedure or anyone else's. We do not edit this or create this. This is a PDF of that procedure. Above that, we have an action checklist. Now this is, so operators focus on one action at a time because after all, we are simulating actions. So an example would be if your procedure says, close all the drain valves, and that's all it said, but there were 11 drain valves, we would have 11 line items up here. So you can do them in the correct sequence and you don't forget one of them. So let me do the first couple of steps here. I'm going to physically close this valve. So you're forced to interact. And once I've completed it, I'm going to confirm, and it will move me to the next step of the procedure. So it's very much like a virtual SME guiding you around. There are these very useful knowledge transfer features here that you see called a knowledge snippet. So you can utilize these anywhere at any step in a procedure and embed that critical knowledge or that tribal knowledge, which may not be in the procedure. So you could even have a video in here or any multimedia content, cautions, notes, that kind of thing, so that knowledge from the 20, 30-year veterans is easily transferred to the new generation of operators coming in or maintenance technicians. So I completed that step, and you'll see the system is going to walk me to the next step. Now, I'm not doing anything here, hence this is called the guided module. As I said, it's like a virtual SME. So it allows you to practice and learn, you know, full startup procedures, full shutdown procedures, equipment swaps, things that they normally would not otherwise get to experience unless the actual situation occurs. So what about testing? So let me show you the testing module quickly. It is the same environment. You have the replica and the same setup, but here you'll notice that if I start walking around the replica, I can walk freely around and basically interact with anything. So I'm going to get immediate feedback on everything. So I'm going to show you what happens when I get something correct. So I'm going to open this, or rather close this valve here, and then confirm to the system that I've fully closed it. And you'll see in the bottom left, I get immediate feedback saying I got it right. So what if I make a mistake? So let me go down to where we were earlier in the digital replica, and you'll see the valves here, and I'm going to crack open that valve which I showed you before. Crack it open a little bit and confirm. And you'll see again in the report, I get immediate feedback. I got it wrong, and it even logs which valve I interacted with, which was the wrong one. You can continue, of course, with this error, but here I'm going to try it again using this link here in the bottom. And you'll notice when I get this one right now, the system actually logs, you'll see that I had 2 attempts here in the report. So the output of this test module, which is really important, is you get a test report with my performance and also a detailed activity log of where I went, you know, wrong or whatever. So you can have a standardized way of testing on full procedures, or even just sections of procedures, whatever is most valuable for you. And it's important to say, you know, that simulation, it is proven. There's a lot of data that simulation and interacting with the real plant increases the rate of retention and builds competency faster. And you'll hear from Fran and Gabe from BASF later about how that happens. I'm just going to finish off with the field execution tool. We get a lot of comments about this, because can you use Vuvio in the field? And the answer is yes. So this is what you would have on a tablet or a phone in the field. It is drawn from the digital replica and the simulators. So you have your action at the top. So this is action number 1 of 8. And you have an image which shows you where that component is. And if you want a close-up of that valve or whatever it is, you just click on it and you get that close-up. So if you're in the field, you have that last, you know, final confirmation. yes, this is the right step in the right location. And then you click the green button to move to step 2. You also have access to those knowledge snippets in the field. So, you know, if there are critical cautions or other things you need to be aware of, notes, they are accessible always in the field, just at the click of that button. And you can also write notes as well. If you need to write a comment, let me just type something in and continue the procedure. And at the end, I'll show you quickly, there's an output, a report, which contains all of that information. So you have the time, who it was completed by for each step, and you'll see in step 3, my note. So that data can be extracted and organized however you wish, but it is there, it is captured. So with that, I want to pass it back to Fran, I believe, who's going to talk about how customers utilize this and some of the results. And then we'll hear from Gabe from BASF.
Okay, thank you, Christian. As Christian mentioned, I want to share some results that we have collected with the implementations at our customers. This chart shows on the y-axis competency and on the x-axis time. And the brownish curve at the bottom is what we have found in industry as a traditional way of training operators or onboarding operators. And they go through an orientation, reading SOPs, and then a period of time of job shadowing. And along with that job shadowing becomes the overtime associated with that training operator or SME. And then there's some type of field demonstration, written test at the end to complete qualification. With Vuvio, what we're finding is the operator is qualifying at about half the time, showing significant productivity gains, and the content that they are learning is significantly greater, almost 2x what they're learning, because they are learning the entire procedure. So the competency gains are double what they've been learning. So through access to the operator 24/7, independent of the SME's availability, they're able to learn this content and then demonstrate their capability using a standardized test. It's not dependent on one's knowledge, it's dependent on their knowledge of the procedure. The next chart shows specific data that we've gathered. The blue line is a range of data that we collected when we first deliver the project. When we deliver the project, we train the operators how to use Vuvio and then ask them to take a test on a procedure that they've already qualified on. And you can see from that data that test results range from the high 40s to 100%, a broad range and a score of less than 80, an average score less than 80. We then ask those same operators to practice the simulations and then come back in 2 to 3 weeks and retest on those same procedures. And that is the brownish line, that all of them scored above the site's passing score of 80, and the average score was 94%. So again, the competency and the ability for that operator to practice on the standardized procedures showing benefits once they use that. So with that, share briefly some of our customers that we've been working with. And I'd like to turn it over to Gabe, who's gonna share the BASF experience.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'd just like to take a quick minute and take you through a journey with BASF and Vuvio to talk a little bit about our experience and implementation. So back in 2017, I was tasked with enhancing our current 5-phase operator training model and developing new ideas for interactive procedures. Our historic training approach was more of a self-directed approach. We relied on operators' ability to read, comprehend numerous procedures, and Fran spoke on that on the previous slide. So as we started looking at this, we've noticed this, how society has changed significantly over the last 10 years. So when people are wanting some type of information quickly, first thing they're going to do, they want to Google it, they want to go to YouTube. I mean, this is the first thing that I do now. So with the change in society, I mean, everything has gone digital. So we want to try to keep up with the times. So the ability to access specific information virtually or on demand, that is the new norm, especially with the newer generation, the Generation Zs. Everybody's grown up with some type of a device in their hand, whether it's an iPad or a phone or something like that. So what I did, the first thing I was approached with was video. So my director asked me, says, purchase a video camera, let's start videoing operators doing tasks, and we can train off of that. Well, I've done that years and years ago. I mean, really, to me, that's antiquated. So I started looking at several companies, what other digital options were there. And you can see from the chart here, you know, CAD, the digital twin, the video. I mean, a lot of these, you know, the digital twins, there's no realistic to it. It's not really my plant. It's not my equipment. So even, as well as the video, if we're shooting videos, something changes, you have an MOC change, and you have to make the change in the plant. It's a lot to go back and change a video. So when I ran across Vuvio and brought them in, the photorealism was just incredible. It was my plant, my equipment. Everything was simulatable, and it was easy to implement onto our current training platform. So once we partnered with Vuvio, I began looking at building a business case. So when you start looking at building a business case for this new type digitalization, we really wanted to focus on our headache areas. So we looked at EHS performance, equipment reliability, the regulatory piece, our new hire onboarding, 3-year PSM refresher training. We wanted to improve our organizational knowledge transfer. I mean, having all the experience walking out of the door and not having a process to really capture that knowledge, to transfer it to newer employees. That was a huge benefit. And then trying to standardize across our site. So standardizing across the site, across shifts, where everyone was doing the same thing, the same way, and the easiest, the fastest, the most profitable way. So Ron, if you'll swap over to that next slide. So as a site, we were looking at a call to action, and basically we really wanted to improve our equipment reliability, reduce downtime, maximize profitability, and a key part of that reliability strategy is the human component. So when you start really looking at equipment reliability and downtime, how much of that is associated with the human error component? So when we started digging into that, it's a huge piece. So that's where we really wanted to focus as a site. So this is where we wanted to implement Vuvio to help provide our DCS field operators with the right tools to reduce that downtime and improve on that equipment reliability strategy. Especially in the times we're in now, we need our equipment to run. We don't need the downtime. Anything that we can make, we want everything running. So, and like I said, we also wanted a process to capture the knowledge of those experienced operators, because with the way people are retiring and the turnover in the industry nowadays, we really need that knowledge to help train these new operators, the newer generation coming in. So by utilizing some of the knowledge snippets that Christian showed during the demo, we were able to capture a lot of that knowledge and put those into the knowledge snippets and pass that on to our newer operators. We also wanted our operators to feel more confident when they qualified. A lot of times a new operator qualifies, they haven't seen everything, they're not near as comfortable when they have to go operate something that they did not get to see when they were training. So we wanted that confident piece. So using the Vuvio simulations and having them practice on these infrequent tasks and procedures that they don't get to see during their training, I mean, this was a huge piece for us. We also want to be able to have them refresh. So when on critical procedures or tasks, if we're going to go into an outage, if we're going to go into shutting down of a piece of equipment that we don't do that often, or starting up, we want to be able to sit down, have them go through these modules, supervisors sit down, share, make sure everybody's on the same page. So with that, Ron, go to the next slide. So with that, we saw a lot of benefits. So just looking at our operator onboarding, so we reduced dependency on SMEs by 50%. So what does that mean? So we would take a subject matter expert and put with our new operators, and they would work with them and train them. Well, once we brought in the Vuvio simulations, we cut that in half. It was amazing how quick an operator could pick up a complicated piece of equipment and understand and be able to operate it that much quicker. So we were able to cut 50% of that subject matter expert's time. So if you look at that, depending on how many people you're hiring, that's a significant amount of money. We also reduced our unplanned events, startup delays, and savings. I mean, we're looking at greater than $500,000 a year on our critical procedures. Just a few, some of our highlights. So we have a large cogeneration unit making steam, electricity, and what we had seen prior to implementing some simulations on this large, complicated piece of equipment, startup delays, having to bring in extra overtime because people didn't really understand the equipment. So you're talking anywhere just in loss of steam, loss of electricity, anywhere 35,000 to 50,000 a day. So since we've been training using the new simulations, that has been at zero. I mean, we have saved a significant amount of money on that. Just a couple other examples. Some of our rotating equipment, blowers, we were experiencing several blower failures due to some human error pieces. It could range anywhere from 120,000 to 150,000. Same thing with some of our high pressure feed pumps. So when you start looking at the reliability of your equipment and the savings per year and what we have seen since we have implemented, it is just phenomenal. So with that said, we're continuing to look for new opportunities to implement Vuvio for training, equipment reliability, for that increased profitability. So with that, thank you for your time and hope I was able to provide a little bit of useful information.
So with that quickly, just to summarize what Vuvio can deliver to a manufacturing environment or plant site, it is the real plant. It is the operator's plant on the screen. It's accessible on any device and it's easy to scale, and have to also mention it's easy to update. With the way our plant sites are and a significant amount of change that occurs on a plant site on any given year, any solution needs to be easy to update so we can maintain that plant site so the operators recognize it when they go out in the area. Again, it's a virtual SME available all the time. It is not people dependent. It's on the network and ready for the operator to use it when they have time. It is proven to increase operator competency and give them the confidence to operate that piece of equipment that they have not operated in the past due to equipment availability. Our system does provide documented testing, documented results. It's a great tool even for the 3-year refresher training that's required by the regulatory agencies. And you can see the results. The overtime associated with the training and specialized call-ins, the reduced qualification timing, and even the documented savings that Gabe shared around reduction and elimination of unplanned downtime. So with that, I believe we're ready for questions. So thank you for your time, and we welcome any questions.
Okay, so the first question is, how has Vuvio been utilized during the current pandemic?
Gabe?
Yeah, okay, I'll take that one because we've actually utilized that. So we are a union site, so we do some business contingency plans around usually our contract. We've never had to train staff people as quickly as we had to for this pandemic. So March 13th, all staff began working from home. March 27th, we had to figure out how to qualify our staff personnel to be able to man the plant because we had so many operators that were going out with COVID or going into mostly with the COVID quarantines and stuff like that. So we had to come up with a plan. So we at the site were scrambling to figure out how we can train from home. So by utilizing Vuvio, the simulations, I actually could assign people procedures and tests, and they could use the Replica, walk around the plant. So not only were we able to train and meet compliance, our OSHA compliance to say, if someone was to be able to come back and say, well, how did you train all these people when they're all working from home? I can show them this. I got test scores. I've got data to show them, hey, here's the plan. They actually learned these procedures, were tested on these procedures. So we found that Vuvio during this pandemic was a huge help on training our staff personnel as well as meeting our regulations that we needed to meet.
Okay, and how long does it take to implement a Vuvio project?
Becky, I'll answer that. So a typical Vuvio project, we will send forward engineers to the site for 4 to 5 days to take pictures with an SME. We then go away and we will deliver the finished product ready to use within 14 weeks. So we're on site, we're training the operators how to use it in a matter of a couple hours, and then it's ready to use. So I'd say 14 weeks and you have a finished product.
Can Vuvio the isolation of energy sources?
Yeah, I'll take that question. Yes, indeed. We have numerous projects aimed at improving the isolation of energy sources because this is a large nemesis in industry. Data shows that one of the top 5 reasons for fatalities and serious injuries is because of failure to isolate energy sources. So as Christian showed during the demo or part of our demo, we can actually show the lock, the tag, the label, and what asset it actually needs to attach to in order to isolate. And this holds true for line break, this holds true for confined space. So those 3 life-saving rules are very big demands, or in very big demands by our customers. We're also looking at, and we're getting engaged with permitting during TARs or turnarounds. As you know, there's a lot of waiting associated with locking out, isolating, and obtaining and establishing work permits because there's such a large agglomeration of people. So Vuvio is being used now so that operators can use the tool in the field to go through and hang the proper tags or make the various isolation points.
What are some of the use cases for the replica?
Okay, I'll take that one. So the replica, it's a great tool. Some of the uses our customers are using it for. It's a great tool for a process overview for the operators. They can use it to navigate around the replica. We can embed hotspots in the replica to click on a piece of equipment. They can open up that hotspot and see whether it's process operating temperatures, pressures. We can embed the enhanced views within the unit. So process overview is one application. Could also use it for rack up meetings or communication meetings. During the pandemic, we've had customers use the replica as a rack up tool for the non-essential personnel, the engineers to call in, and the shift to use that replica as a discussion point to talk about certain portions of the process. And the other application that a lot of folks are using the replica for is turnaround planning. With the annual turnarounds, we have a lot of production or maintenance planners, schedulers that need to get into the field. We have customers that are using it remotely and significantly reducing the time they have to spend in the field for the turnaround planning to identify those interferences within the plant and be able to schedule those jobs. So that's some of the uses for the replica, the digital replica.
What are some near-term new product developments for Vuvio?
Yeah, hi Becky. I'll take that one. So you guys saw the digital replica and a couple of the procedure simulator examples, and then the field execution tool. We're actually about to release several new features and enhancements for what I just showed you, including enhanced digital replica capabilities for embedding hotspots, and also connectors to other systems. You know, for instance, LMS SCORM. We have an LMS SCORM connector. But what we're really excited about is the recent launch of what we call Vuvio Cloud. It's a single, one single platform for customers to choose the capabilities that they need when they need them. So we use Amazon Web Services. So it offers customers the most secure and reliable hosting services in the market. And it also gives them the flexibility to add new features and products immediately when they're available at a good price point. So for examples, customers get assign and assess capabilities for testing. They'll also be able to add our field execution tool with some enhanced features such as user management, tracking, and data analytics. There's also our operator rounds product that will be available. There's also a dashboard associated with that, which will be coming out soon. They'll be able to add new stuff as it comes. But I'll just take this opportunity to share that we also received an investment of $18 million from Moira Capital Partners, which will allow us to invest more in our product and service capabilities. But importantly, it will allow us to really grow and dominate this market. So we're very excited about that.
Okay, next question is from Freddie. How do you get the video pictures into the running unit? Is Vuvio an explosion-proof device?
I can start this one, and then Gabe or someone else, Fran, feel free. But we have just normal cameras, digital SLRs. Typically, we get a hot work permit with no problem. But if there are things we need to do, we always talk about that with our customers. But so far, we've never had an issue with going into a running unit.
Yeah, so just to build on that, Christian, you're correct. We work with the customer, we work with their HSC leads and make sure that there are no issues. We're using the digital camera. We will walk with the SME. They're usually carrying a meter after we have the hot work permit. And we're taking those pictures and through refineries, chemical plants, and have not had an issue.
I'll add to that as well, just in case that didn't answer the question. So, you know, so once the pictures are made, so this is software. So we have access to that on our servers. So we have handheld devices that are explosion proof that we take into the unit along with our Wi-Fi in the unit. So that is how we're able to access those procedures in the unit. So if we want to pull up a procedure and use the field piece, we would use it on our handheld explosion-proof devices.
What is the scope of a typical Vuvio project that takes 14 weeks? One procedure, an operating unit, multiple procedures?
Yeah, I'll answer that one. The typical scope can vary and range. We typically customize it based on the need of the customer. We like to build simulations that consist of 10 to 15 procedures for first wave. That helps with introducing the technology, getting engagement in the organization, and helping them see the value of the transformation. We specify critical and complex procedures that very few people know, and that if something goes wrong, it could be a pretty severe consequence. It can be in the same operating unit, or it can vary, you know, across the site. But send us your 10 to 15 critical procedures that, if they go wrong or not executed properly, can be a pretty significant consequence to the business.
Okay, a comment from Bartolo. Nobody wants to experience an incident, but in case it occurs, this device looks like it's a good tool to help understand what happened.
Yeah, Becky, if I can, just to build on that's an excellent comment, and that's where our knowledge snippets really come into play. It affords the unit to embed those knowledge snippets and share those experiences with the operators, specifically where they occurred. So if it's in a unit around a compressor, they can embed that knowledge snippet, share the event that caused a release, an incident, an injury. That way that operator is familiar with the potential that could occur. So that's an excellent point.
Okay, Freddie asks, I was involved in the Intellitrac handheld surveillance rounds implementation in 1999. Oh, it just appeared. Oh, there it is, with ExxonMobil. What is the difference between Intellitrac and Vuvio?
I can start off, and please add. But so the main difference here, I mean, Vuvio, we're a simulation company at the end of the day, with the ability to create these digital replicas. So you can walk around the plant with that unique digital replica on any device for onboarding, refresher, or day-to-day kind of operations use. And the simulation capability is key, right? You're able to learn procedures on any device before you go into the field. So it builds that competency before you get into the field. We do also have some tools that you can use in the field. So Intellitrac is very much a tool you use in the field. It's not a training tool or a simulation tool or anything like that. So it's Vuvio. We do have a round type product as well, which we're releasing very soon, allowing operators to input readings and data and things like that. And our field tool as well, field execution tool, utilizes our digital replica images, so operators have that visual confirmation in the field. And just to add to that, you know, if any of the simulators are updated or something in the replica is changed, those changes are automatically reflected in the field tool. So perhaps someone who knows Intellitrac more than I do might be able to add some more onto this question.
Okay, there's another question pertaining to Intellitrac. It says, does the Vuvio device use a proprietary device, or can it be installed and used as a software in another mobile cell phone explosion-proof device? We use Intellitrac software in a modern cell phone.
Yeah, you can use it on any device with a web browser. So whether it's a phone, tablet, computer, laptop, whatever it is, it'll work.
Okay, and Brandy's asking, can we see the BASF slide outlining implementation needs again? Are you planning on making the video or your slides available for people to view after the session?
Yeah, we can make the slides available for sure, yeah.
Okay, so Brandy, we'll be posting things on our site, so check back on our website for that slide. From Ravi, how do you implement physical models of equipment and processes? Is there a separate tool language used?
I'm not sure I quite understand the question.
I think it's embedding the enhanced views, and it's.
Okay, so is there a separate tool language used? I mean, so we create everything you just saw using photographs. So it's you know that's the unique thing about Vuvio, is the ability to create everything, these models, these digital replicas of equipment and processes using JPEGs basically, and we're able to create these immersive kind of 3D feeling scenarios using JPEG. So that's the that's the basis of the model. And then those knowledge snippets and enhanced views that Fran just mentioned, those can be embedded throughout the model. I hope that answers the question.
And Christian, just to add, those embedded enhanced views can be of any media. It could be a video, it could be a drawing, it could be a text, it could be anything. So yes, we can take other models and embed them in our enhanced views.
Okay, from Jacqueline Berry, how long did it take to build the program at BASF?
Gabe, would you take that one, please?
Yeah, I'll take that one. Well, we had about a week, 3 to 4 days of photographs being taken, but start to finish, from where we started, it was only about 2.5 months, if I recall, because we're continuing to build. Our initial project started with 13 procedures, which was 22 simulations plus enhanced views. It was 20, I want to say 21 days. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that, Ron, but I want to say 21 days or something like that. And we're just continuing to build across the site now. I mean, we're doing new replicas and new waves of procedures, just continuing on. So.
Yes, Gabe, you spoke of wave 1 for utilities. I might add that we're in wave 2 and wave 3s across the site with other business units and a lot of their highly hazardous processes.
Can you use any procedure program with Vuvio?
I'm assuming that this is procedure management system, maybe. Yeah, there are different types of procedure management tools out there, or platforms. Some people use Microsoft Word or Innovation or ATR, but it doesn't matter. So that it works with any procedure program.
Can Vuvio help me in proactive maintenance planning from home or telework maintenance planning?
Yeah, I'll take that one, and that is a great question. Yes, Vuvio can help you remotely with maintenance planning. One of the things that you'll have access to is all of your assets in the field as they are in actuality. You can do web meetings, you can do conference calls with other disciplines in the organization, maintenance operation and planning. And you can project the actual facilities. You can lay out where certain equipment is going to be set up, where barricades need to be established, and those sort of things. So yeah, it's a perfect tool to use for interventions that you need to do planning on, particularly for maintenance.
Is aftermarket service available? Critical procedures should be reviewed yearly. Therefore, can any procedure be update be implemented into Vuvio immediately?
Yeah, so updates, you can add to this, Gabe or Fran or Ron. But yeah, updates are typically, you know, small in nature. You know, they may need some new photographs, you know, when new equipment is installed. We even had Gabe take some of these updated pictures and he sent them to us. And the turnaround time was pretty quick. Customers also get a tool to update the simulators themselves. So if you have a new version of the procedure with some new text or a new step, or you've removed a step, those types of changes can actually be done locally by the customer. But of course we also provide that updating service as well. So it really depends on what you want to handle yourself.
Yeah, Christian, I'll add to that. Just from a management of change perspective, you know, Ron and my background is in manufacturing, and it's critical that management of change is considered. So we actually have a tool that we've added to our offering that allows the site to lock out that simulation while it's going through its update. And as Christian mentioned, the turnaround for an update is in days, not weeks or months.
Are the tablets explosion proof and durable? Please provide further information on the tablets.
Well, just to say, Vuvio doesn't provide tablets. That's up to the customer if you want to use Vuvio on a tablet. But we just provide the software, let's call it, the content, and customers provide the hardware for use. And the tools that we use to actually do the photo shoots, I think we covered this in a previous question. They are, you know, we need a hot work permit, but we have not had any issues thus far.
Another question along those same lines, can the handheld devices be used for other software packages, making the handheld device multifunctional? Yeah, I mean, again, we don't provide the devices, but all you need to run Vuvio is a web browser and that's it. So as long as your device, your phone, your tablet, you know, customers are using all sorts of different types of tablets, but we're, how do you say, hardware agnostic. Yeah,
and Christian, just to add to that, we depend on the customer to make sure the devices meet their classification for their area, because that varies across different processes.
Okay, where is the data stored? Cloud-based?
So we do actually have the option to host the data in Amazon Web Services, which is highly secure and reliable. For cloud customers, a lot of our customers are actually moving that way because they like the flexibility of being able to add new features on and off when they need them. But we have customers who host everything on premises as well, so behind their firewalls on their own server. So that's totally up to the customer, but we do see a trend of customers moving to host things in Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Azure or whatever.
Was the 14-week estimate for one procedure?
Yeah, I
No.
think, yeah, Ron, I think you answered that earlier. We're typically 10 to 15 procedures. We'll work with the customer to identify those procedures that are of critical or importance to the business, and take those, again, 10 to 15 procedures, and deliver the replica as well as the simulation modules.
Have you connected your field operator simulator to a control room operator training simulator for integrated team training?
I can start this question, or this answer rather. We actually have, we simulate control room operator steps. Typically all of the procedures we do have both the field and the control room steps. And we actually, I didn't show it in the demo, but the replica, there's a little icon you click that opens up the DCS screen, and you can learn and test on the DCS steps as well. So it's not, let's say it's not a dynamic operator OTS system, but it allows you to learn and practice those DCS steps. So we do next year have something coming out with multi-user capability, where if you have a blended procedure with control room and field steps, both users will be able to log in into the same simulator and kind of tag team doing the field or the DCS.
And I'll add to that, we have done some emergency procedures that had a lot of DCS steps in it. Again, like Christian said, it's not dynamic, but it allowed the operators that were training on the DCS to actually be able to go through that procedure, operate the controllers in the simulation. So in emergencies, they have that experience of where the controllers are, where the controllers need to be, and operating those in those emergency procedures.
Will Vuvio dovetail in with AI in the future?
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Who knows what the future brings? But we're working on lots of different things right now, from popular customer demand as well as what's happening in the market. So, but yeah, I'm sure AI will increasingly become relevant in the years to come.
And that is all of the submitted questions. Would anybody on the session like to unmute themselves and speak directly to the Vuvio team? Okay, guys, do you have any closing comments?
Just to say, I mean, if anyone wants to, contact us, we will, for all those registrants, we'll send our contact details, and happy to have a conversation. We'll also share the slides.
Okay, thank you so much to the Vuvio team for that great presentation. Before we close, I just want to mention that there are a couple more webinars coming up that might be of interest to you. Please look on our website for more details. We are also hosting Refcomm Global. It's a delayed coking conference the week of November 2 through 6. We do encourage you and hope that you will join us. It is on a virtual platform that is completely interactive. And we'll be having both live and on-demand sessions, as well as a fully interactive exhibition hall. We are offering 2 free passes to Refcomm Global to all the DCU sites globally. We've heard from about 30 sites so far, but so if, please check in with me and see if those free passes have been claimed from your site. We'd love to have you join us. That wraps up this edition of eRefcomm webinars. We thank you all so much for joining us today, and we hope you have a safe week.
Thank you.
Thank you.